Welcome to Keep You 100 Radio. I'm your host, Lissy Pointer, type 1 diabetic, certified health coach, personal trainer, and founder of Needles and Spoons Health and Wellness. Inside this podcast, you'll find the real and raw conversations around diabetes management, including the lessons that we don't learn in our endo's office, my best tips and trainings, and conversations from the experts that I trust inside the community so that you can create more predictability in your diabetes management and feel empowered while doing so. Let's dive in. I love using Skingrip because honestly it's the only patch company that I found that actually keeps my devices on while I'm doing things that I love, like weightlifting, running with my dogs, being really active and doing the things that I didn't think I could do before with diabetes. Welcome back to Keep You 100 Radio, everyone. I am super excited for this episode, and I know I say that every single time, but I really am, because on this episode we have Parkinson, who is the owner and founder of Skingrip, who I'm sure you're all aware is the sponsor behind this podcast. So I'm really excited for you to get to know him and his journey behind Skingrip. And for those of you who don't know, I've had the pleasure of being their social media manager for the past almost 2 years, which is kind of insane.
Wild.
So yeah, I'm really excited to get to share just what I've seen behind the scenes and just the awesomeness of this brand. So Isaac, do you want to introduce yourself and share?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's always fun chatting with you, Lizzie, but I'm super excited about today. This is the first time we've ever recorded something together. So yeah, like Lizzie said, I'm Isaac Parkinson, the founder of Skingrip. Some call me the CEO, but I just think that's a weird term. We're a small business, and I basically just make sure that the house doesn't fall down. So, I started it back in 2016, and we can get more into that and kind of how it started and how my family's involved. But besides building a business, because business isn't everything. Sports are probably my passion. I love to golf, play basketball, and play pickleball. If you've never heard of it or haven't played, you should. It's up and coming, fun sport. Overall, I just love being outdoors. I grew up most of my life in Utah, so I obviously skied in the winter and was just always, doing something outdoors. Another thing I'm into is making pizza. So I kind of claim that I'm an amateur pizza chef. I've been making pizzas for a couple of years now, just during the pandemic in the backyard, and I love doing it. It's so much fun. But yeah, other than that, I graduated from Utah State University with a marketing degree, and I've just always kind of been interested in building things. So, I've been entrepreneurial. I had a wedding videography business for a while, and I've done, other things on the side just kind of through college to make it through. But I love building things that make a difference in people's lives. And so Skingrip has kind of been that vehicle for me to create and try to, spread joy and other good things to other people the last few years. But when all is said and done, I actually have other dream jobs that I'm considering. And one of them is a Zamboni driver. I don't know why, but whenever I go to a hockey game, I just think wow, I'd love to drive that Zamboni. It's so cool, what they do and how they clean the ice. And if that doesn't work out, then maybe I'll become a barber or something, just so I can talk to people all day. But yeah, that's kind of me. And I have one more thing to add though. A lot of people don't know me too well, and so I figured this would be fun to share. But some interesting facts about me are that I actually lived in Nicaragua for 2 years after high school. And I currently don't hardly ever listen to songs that have lyrics. So I'm very into jazz and other music, instrumental music that doesn't have lyrics. I don't know, why that is. I do love music with lyrics. Don't get me wrong, I'm not crazy, but just recently I've been really into the instrumental stuff. I guess I'm just getting old. I don't know.
That's something. And that must be hard with Taylor Swift's 10-minute version of All Too Well coming out. You have to listen to
I know. Well, yeah, I know. Seriously, it would. Yeah, my wife has maybe listened to it one too many times. I found out yesterday that she has a sad autumn sad girl version or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Yeah.
is it called. I don't know what it's called. But anyways, I found out about that, and 5 minutes through, I said, you know what, I can't do this, honey. I'm leaving the room. You can listen to the sad girl version, but I've already listened to hours upon hours of All Too Well. So
You have to have both versions. Like you just have to. And with like this time change, like seasonal depression, like it just ties it all together. Like it's
right, yeah. I'm just waiting for spring version. So hopefully that one's a little more happy.
a little bit, yeah, hopefully. But that's yeah, you said that there's gonna be some things that I didn't know. That's a lot. I'm a little bit surprised by the Zamboni driver comment, but not totally surprised because on our team calls, you consider yourself the janitor of the company. So like
True,
I
true.
feel like it ties together pretty well.
Yeah, I'm a simple man. I mean, I love doing cool things, but I don't aspire to too much. Like, I think that the janitor or the Zamboni driver is just as important as, the CEO or the hockey player. You know what I mean? So
That's
yeah, that's
awesome.
kind of that's kind of my brain.
Hey, I mean, jack of all trades. There you go.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But you're actually one of the few people on the show that don't have diabetes. And I feel like maybe some people don't know that because Skingrip is they tailor to the diabetes community. But do you mind
Mhm.
sharing a little bit about your connection to diabetes, how it's impacted your family?
Yeah, absolutely. It's true. I don't have diabetes. It's my brother Josh that was diagnosed back in 2013. And at the time, this obviously came as a shock to everyone. Like, he was exhibiting a lot of the symptoms that we talk about with diabetes, but because we just didn't really have any experience with it, we didn't know what was going on. So for weeks on end, he was exhausted. He was so thirsty. He was obviously going to the bathroom 100 times a night. I'm being kind of facetious there, but he was like showing the symptoms, and we just didn't catch on.
Mhm.
And it was actually kind of scary. He was like laying in bed for like days, like just couldn't get up. He was just sleeping all day. And one morning, his heart was just like racing, and he got really scared, and went to my mom, and they rushed him to the hospital, and they did some quick tests, and they're like, yeah, you probably have diabetes. And they rushed him down to a specialist in Salt Lake. And luckily, I mean, he was okay. His blood sugar was extremely high,
Mhm.
but they were able to get him under control, and he had to stay in the hospital for a few days. And he went into it pretty hopeless. And after being in the hospital, he came out a little more confident. He was obviously very young. He was just starting high school,
Oh, well.
and it was tough because giving yourself insulin shots and stuff at lunch, and those little things, like pricking your finger, those little things were tough on him and kind of embarrassing from the beginning. Um, and, and so yeah, I mean, obviously what he went through was much harder than what me or the rest of my family went through, because we were just watching. He was actually living it, but I mean, for us it was hard just to see him struggling, and to see him, he had some days where he was very depressed. And
Mhm.
so like that was really tough. And I feel like not having diabetes, you feel a little bit helpless when they're going through something, and you don't always know what to do. And so obviously, like, we've been educated over the years, we know better how to help him. And whenever like our family's together, we're very cognizant of like, hey, have you checked your sugars, like if we're on a hike, whatever, have you, because he's kind of a carefree guy.
Mhm.
So we always worry about him a little bit. But we've learned so much, and honestly, like, his life has normalized so much over the years with the with technology and things like that. Now he obviously uses a sensor, he uses a Dexcom, and he's an insulin pump. And I mean, he honestly, it's amazing the things that I've seen him accomplish now, with diabetes. And he treats it like it's not even there, right? He kind of moves forward, and he's doing really awesome stuff. So it's been an interesting journey for us.
Yeah, that it's really interesting to hear that perspective from a family member because I mean, when you're living it, you know your experience, like, oh yeah, I went through the, feeling sick, and I went through the learning curve, but there's also a learning curve for the family members and for the people supporting them. It's like, what do you
Yeah.
feel like was the biggest learning curve for you, like specifically, but also like your family?
Um, yeah, that's a great question. Like, I feel like, I mean, for me specifically, one of the biggest learning curves is just like understanding like what's good, what's bad. Because there's like a lot of stuff out there that, you know, you like a lot of associations you make about diabetes, and you think, oh,
Mhm.
sugar is bad. Like, oh,
Right.
Josh, like don't eat a dessert, like don't do that, Whereas it's not technically just like that. It's not just black and white with every single issue, right? And
Hmm.
so it's been a learning curve, just kind of understanding like, okay, like what are the truths, what are the things that maybe are just like preconceived notions,
Hmm.
and how can I actually, support him and help him. um Obviously, like, we can't do everything for him. He's a grown man now. He has to take care of
Right.
himself, but we can support him, just by letting him know like we're there for him. And I mean, like I said, like when we're with him, we're doing certain activities, just like always kind of like being cognizant of what's going on, and just making sure that he obviously takes care of himself, but like I said, he's a little bit laid back. So just kind of like giving him some reminders and just making sure that he's doing good and feeling comfortable with the activities and things we're doing. That's kind of like how I like to go with the flow and help him out.
Yeah, it's always nice having that support from family specifically. Like, might not know the best way to support them, but like, I mean, my mom, my mom carries like I'll meet up with her and I'm like, oh, I'm low, and she just pulls out a juice box out of her purse or like opens up her refrigerator door and she
Oh,
has like a
exactly.
thing of
Yeah.
like yoo-hoo. She's like, do you want to take one? Do you want to take three? Like, are you gonna be okay? I'm like, I'm good, thank you.
Yeah.
But you're actually doing a lot more. I think that you're supporting him in a really big way by advocating for him through Skingrip. So do you mind sharing just how Skingrip came to fruition, how that idea came up? Like, how did it all start?
Absolutely. Yeah. And kind of going back to what you just said, yeah, like our big thing is like carrying fruit snacks. Like he loves fruit snacks, so he has like a ton of them at his, by his bedside. And so whenever he comes over, whatever, it's just like my wife and I are like, okay, do we have enough fruit snacks? So if that's if that's the, how we can help, we're happy
Yeah.
to do it. But yeah, like you said, so Skingrip, yeah, has been a big part of our lives in the last 5 years. And it got started, in an interesting way. So, like I mentioned, I've kind of always been entrepreneurial, and I've just always had my eyes up for like open to opportunities. And specifically, like when I think of opportunities, I think of something like that can change someone's life or make their life a little bit easier, a little bit better. Um, so back was out when I was in college. I was obviously doing a bunch of random odd jobs to kind of get by and pay for school. But I had a roommate that actually kind of brought the idea of tape to my attention. And I ran it past my brother. He was obviously like at this point now finally using like a Dexcom. Our insurance finally covered one. And
Mhm.
so, I kind of consulted with him and said, hey, like, are you having issues with this? And he said, yeah, this is when I see the issues with my sensors falling off. And because we were kind of new to the whole sensor thing, like I started researching more about, the cost of sensors and how people use sensors and why they're so important. And just, educated myself more on that. And I noticed that, there were a couple like tapes that were out there that kind of helped with this solution. But
Mhm.
as we tested them on my brother, just, none of them were working. A lot of them were really, really weak adhesives, or they just were almost as bad as the sensors themselves. They were just falling off all the time.
Mhm.
And so I thought, we don't have to reinvent the wheel with this. Like, what we really need to do is make a stronger adhesive, for one, that can withstand really anything that an athlete might put it through.
Mhm.
um, and then we need to make it non-irritating, because I mean, if there's anything worse than your sensor falling off, it's your sensor falling off and your skin. You get like a skin burn from terrible, adhesion. So
Mhm.
I figured, why couldn't we just fix at least those two problems,
Mhm.
and then also form a mission around what we were doing? Because like I said, like we're not Apple. We didn't create the iPhone. We didn't reinvent the wheel. We just created a better solution to a
Mhm.
problem that existed. Um, and so with that being said, we decided on also a mission, and just kind of knew that logistically this item, this product was something that we could make happen.
Mhm.
I mean, I didn't have a background in like engineering or science or any of these crazy things. Like I literally studied business, and so making something uh simple was important for me, something like that I knew we could do, that we could afford to produce on a small scale. And so then once we kind of just decided and we saw the need, I decided we should go for it. And
Mhm.
so I didn't have much in savings, but I actually put down the first like the money for the first order, because it was a risk, and I thought, hey, I'm going to try this out. My brother tested all the products; they worked great for him. My sister actually made the logo. My dad has worked in medical supplies his whole career, and so he's kind of been the one that's kind of talked with medical suppliers, and he's even talked to Dexcom personally and stuff. And so the whole family like has had a part in it one way or the other.
Mhm.
But it's been a wild journey, honestly. I mean, I never thought that we'd be now 2021 where we are.
Yeah.
But I'm super happy about it, and I just feel like we have more of a responsibility to do even
Mhm.
more for the diabetes community because of the success that the business has had.
Right. Yeah. And to your point, like, yes, you guys make a incredible product. Like I remember when you actually like reached out to me on Instagram saying, "Hey, can we send you a pack?" And I was kind of hesitant because I've tried other patches and like they're pretty, they have a cool design, that's great. But when they fall off, so did my Dexcom.
Mhm.
And you're right, like
Exactly.
it's super expensive. It's really hard to call up the insurance company and say, I need a new Dexcom because it just fell off. Like it doesn't always fly. So with
Yeah.
the cost, it adds up and like that adds the frustrations. I'm like, all right, give it a try. And like I'm being so honest when I say I've never used another patch again. Like my friend has all like bought me another patch company for Christmas, like a pack, and I haven't even touched it. But that's really because like it's truly a great product. But what really kind of drew me in as a more of like a loyal like customer and now working for the company is the mission behind it. So do you mind sharing a little bit more about that and kind of what you bring to the diabetes community that's more than just a well-performing patch?
Yeah, absolutely. I've always said that like uh, the product is great, and you can't have a business without a great product. No one would buy it. But the mission is definitely what sets us apart, and like something that I'm way more passionate about the mission than necessarily the product. Um, we've received thousands of reviews now, and it's always heartwarming to see the reviews of people who say, hey, this was my life before Skingrip. Like I didn't go in the ocean with my kids, I didn't play with them. I was worried about losing the sensor because I can't afford to replace it. And this is my life now. And they talk about the things they're doing with their kids, or whatever it may be, and it always brings tears to my eyes. And so um that's the kind of um, vision that we have, is make more experiences like that in the lives of other people, specifically with the product. Now, I've always been like really into, or I've always admired brands that tell a story. So you think of like the Nikes of the world or whatever that tell stories, right? I I I just love how that brings everyone together, and it gives like the brand an actual like identity, and it makes you just when you think of the brand, you think of uh, maybe good memories that you've had with that brand or with the product, whatever it may be. And so after the first year of business, that's kind of when we really decided that we're going to go all in on it. So like we rebranded the packaging. We branched out into other products for different devices and different colors and things like that. And it was at this time that I began personally to start thinking really deeply about the vision, and just like the whole mission of the company. And like I read a lot of books. I thought, okay, who's our target audience? What matters to them? And it was at like a seminar that we were watching like some different advertisements or some, of different companies, and just like some things that, certain companies were doing. And like the words "live fearlessly" came up on one of the ads. And I thought those are the two words that I would describe our vision. Like, I want people living with type 1 diabetes to be able to live fearlessly. And so the whole vision now, literally word for word, is when individuals living with diabetes feel fearless, they can accomplish the extraordinary. And I truly believe that, like, I mean, like you mentioned, I don't have diabetes, but have many people in my life who have diabetes, whether it's my brother, aunts and uncles, cousins. Like, there are many people in our extended family that have type 1 diabetes. And I've seen many of them and others like yourself accomplish like, amazing things. Even though you have the cards stacked against you, by living with this disease, like, you guys are still able to go out and do these amazing things. So I personally look to type 1 diabetics as superheroes.
Mhm.
And so I feel like, if Skingrip can at least, help others like feel fearless, then those people will go out and do the amazing things that the world needs. And so, one thing that we want to do is we want to support as many type 1 diabetics as we can, whether it's through giving to charities that make insulin more accessible, or whether it's donating patches to people in other countries who don't have the same resources that we may have. Whatever that is, we want to be a part of it, and we're gonna try to do the best we can.
Yeah. That's just the biggest thing that drew me into Skingrip was that mission, because again, like when we're first diagnosed, that's kind of the whole diagnosis is fear. Like we feel like, I mean, personally, and I just said this on the other episode that I recorded, but when I was diagnosed, I remember literally thinking to myself, I do not want to live this way. And it was terrifying to, one, acknowledge that, and two, kind of look ahead and say, I have this whole life in front of me with this diagnosis. So even if it's just a patch, quote unquote, like you're giving people kind of something that they can step into. Like when I put on my patch, I'm wearing it right now. Like when I put that
Awesome.
on, I remember that, like, wow, like I can do this. There is so much more that I can do now, because one, yes, I don't have to worry about my devices, but also there's a brand advocating for me in a way that, like, maybe I didn't see myself living that way at first, but now I know that's possible. I see other people doing it. I'm seeing examples every single day from other people on social media and just, day to day. So you really are giving people so much more than just a good product. It's a way to live their life and step up and say, I can do things that maybe I didn't think that I did before. But when we're looking at, so you're at the like 5-year mark, right? You said it was founded in 2016.
2016. Yep.
That's so insane. But when you're looking ahead at the next 5-10 years, what's the vision? Like, what do you see for it?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of goals, and the crazy thing about being in business is that things change every year. Like, we could never imagine that we were gonna be in business during a pandemic, and we could never imagine kind of the opportunities we've had so far to be able to give back. So going forward, I mean, for one, we really want to be the global leader in CGM tape, and that sounds um, like, again, like you said, it's a patch like for devices. That sounds kind of interesting, but being the global leader for us means, again, spreading this vision and this mission to everybody that has diabetes. And so we want 1 million people using Skingrip, and even more so, 1 million people living fearlessly in their lives and doing amazing things, even though they have diabetes, right? On a bigger level, some other things we want to do is we'd like to be able to donate as much as possible and give back to the community as much as we can. Hopefully in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's a huge goal we have, and we're on track to do that already. Some other things that may happen is we've had a lot of people reach out from other markets, right? Not just necessarily in diabetes, but we've had the opportunity to actually give patches to hospitals and other companies that are creating creating really cool products for people in need, things that monitor the heart and other things like that. And so, there's a lot of need for our product in other markets besides diabetes. But this is the interesting thing is, we started with the focus of helping those with diabetes. And while other companies are, asking for our product in other markets, we want to stay true to what we've always done. And so we're not going to, enter a new market unless it's very intentionally with the goal to always give back to the diabetes community. So this is a really interesting, idea. And, I know that many people, may not like it per se, but, our goal is if we ever do get into other markets, we can use that as a catalyst to then give back to the diabetes community and advance some of the things in diabetes, because we're able to give back more, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, honestly, for us, the ultimate goal is to cure diabetes. So, whether we're giving money to organizations that, can advance the technology in curing diabetes or can provide insulin access to everybody,
Mm-hmm.
we want to use that as the main focus and the main goal when we're giving back.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of have like this, like in our family, we have this little manifesto that we basically call like our put us out of business manifesto, which is basically like we want to go out of business someday because we want diabetes to be cured.
Right.
And obviously, like in the business world, that doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
But for us, that would be everything, right? Like, I know we have many team members, to live with diabetes, that have family with diabetes, and I think all of us want that.
Right.
So, again, I can't say that we'll ever expand our product line and get into new markets, but if we ever did, like the ultimate goal would be expanding what we can do to give back and make a
Right.
difference in the diabetes community. So I'm really excited about that. And I don't know where we're going to end up in 5 more years, but hopefully it's a place that we can be super proud of.
Yeah. And I think your answer right there and the transparency that you give, and it just shows how much you care about the community and you care about the people that you're serving. Because there is obviously the business outlook of, oh, this would be a great way to add to the profits and grow as a business. But you're like, no, like we want to give back to the community that we currently serve. And I think that's again one of the biggest things that the community respects so much about Skingrip is that transparency. And I've been able to see kind of on the back end of how much the brand and how much you and your family care about the community. And I've been able to see like the ways that you give back and the ways that you truly are transparent and share your values. So do you mind speaking a little bit on that in those ways that like we're going to brag about Skingrip for a minute, but like the ways that you give back, the ways that you share your values and share that transparency?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just personally think like, why would anyone want to buy from a business that wasn't transparent with them? I mean, like we try to be as transparent as we can. And, I know that not everything we do is going to be something that people like. But like we ultimately do everything that we do with a good heart, and believing that it's going to help the most amount of people. So typically like whenever I have an idea for something, like I just act on it quick, else I forget about it. I think, a good idea is only good for so long. And, not all the things that we've done in Skingrip have even been like my own ideas. We look to other brands, we look to other people who we respect, and we try to do what we can do in our own sphere. So like early on, like I mentioned, we created this mission, but I also wanted to make sure that we were giving back in some way. And, typically like what you'll see with brands is they'll say, oh, like, we give back 1% to this cause, or, whatever it may be. And I wanted to do something different. I wanted to do something more unique for us. And so that's why we created the All for One Day. And if people aren't familiar with the All for One Day, what it is on the 11th day of every month, we give all of our website proceeds to charity. And instead of just like choosing one charity to give to every single month, we usually take suggestions or let like our followers vote on where we should donate. And so, over the last few years, we've donated to tons of type 1 diabetes charities. We've also had, cool months like where we'll donate directly to, certain people or certain causes. Or, like this past month, we donated to type 1 diabetic artists who had their artwork stolen. So we just, we try to do cool things, and we don't necessarily, we feel like we're flexible enough where we don't have to say, hey, the money's going to go to this one thing, but it can go to like where the need's greatest that month or at that moment. So that's just, one cool thing. But like you mentioned, we like to be transparent, and the transparency idea kind of came from just like seeing other brands, in other industries being transparent about, their products and what they were doing, like their mission. And so I decided, one thing that really lacks in the diabetes community, which is awful, is transparency. You have many organizations, many businesses who are profiting, obviously off of people living with diabetes, but they're rarely transparent about like where the money's actually going, and like, are we actually trying to cure diabetes? Like, what's actually happening, right? And so I was listening to Craig Stubing's podcast, and he talked about transparency, and I actually ended up reaching out to him and saying, hey, like, I love what you're doing with, the Beta Cell Foundation, how, you're trying to be transparent. We want to be more transparent, and we want to set a precedent for other companies in the space to be more transparent. What are some steps we can take? And, Craig actually sent me a bunch of ideas from other companies in other industries, sent me, some of his thoughts. And we created the transparency page on our website where, you can see exactly like where the product's coming from, what it costs us to make, the product, what our financials generally look like. Obviously for different reasons, like we can't share every single thing, in the business, but we can share as much as possible to let people know like what we're actually doing, and, who we're actually benefiting. So again, it's the transparency part of our business is in its early stages. Like I think we can still do a lot more. But we're at least trying to set that precedent. And we have like on the page we have a little part at the bottom that says we challenge every company to do the same in diabetes, because if every company could be more transparent, then I think everyone benefits.
Definitely. And that's what I think something that you do really, really well is that you are constantly listening to the community. You are looking on social media and saying, what are people talking about? What do they want from these brands that they're buying from? What do they want to hear? Like, where do they want the money going to? Like, what are they looking for? And you are constantly raising the bar. Like, I cannot, I just laugh at like when you mentioned like, you're always thinking of like good ideas and just kind of rolling with them, and how many just like, you'll just send a text like, hey, here's an idea, let's get rolling with it. And that's exactly what like the All for One Day was with, you had heard that there were artists being kind of not treated well in the community, and you said, nope, we're going to raise the bar. We are going to set this expectation for other brands, in that this is how we treat our community. And we first of all want to share more about them, and we want to give back to them because they're an integral part of our community. And you're just constantly raising the bar for other brands. And again, it's something that I respect so much, and I think that so many other people respect so much.
I appreciate that. I mean, I wouldn't know about all the things going on in the community if it wasn't for you. So I definitely think that, like, I'm very lucky to work with the people I work with, like yourself. And, we wouldn't be what we are without the whole team that we have around us. But like ultimately, I just think like for someone to own a business or to be part of a business, that's trying to do good, like we have a great responsibility to help. And I just don't think it makes any sense to not be listening to those you serve, right? Like,
Right.
I mean, it's just good for business for one, but on the other hand, I mean, if you're not like, if you're not helping the people who you're supposed to be helping, then like, there's no reason to be in business, honestly.
Right. What's the point? And the diabetes community finds out when intentions aren't pure. So like,
oh yeah, I know.
we're like PIs. We find out.
Absolutely.
But I mean, let's talk about that a little bit more, in just your entrepreneurship journey, and just in how you, like, I see again in how you lead the team and in how you lead in the community. And just, can we talk about that a little bit, in kind of what inspired like your leadership and who you look up to? Just a little bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't really consider myself a leader. what I do like though is making people's lives better. So that's kind of like my North Star, is how can I make someone's life better? And, if we're talking about like the diabetes community as a whole, the way that I can make people's lives better, obviously is, by making good products, by giving back, but also by hiring the right people. I think when you hire the right people as a leader, that makes all the difference. So my general rule of thumb is I find the right person and then I get out of their way. Because there's no reason to hire someone who knows more than you do about a subject and then tell them what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, whether it's customer service, social media, operations, whatever it is, I just make sure that someone shares the same vision for, that we have. And then I remove myself somewhat. Obviously, like you still have to manage the team and have the vision and make sure we're all going towards the vision and the goal. But I don't like to be a micromanager.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, a great example is you. I've given, you and many other people a lot of freedom to do, great work. And then it's led to some amazing things.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's just kind of my general philosophy. And I mentioned, a little bit before that, when it comes to the ideas, at Skingrip, I don't come up with all of them. I'm not like, the Wizard of Oz. I don't come up with all the ideas around here. But rather what I try to do is create the best environment where people can be their best selves, and then the ideas flow through them.
Mm-hmm.
So many of our great ideas and our campaigns, our initiatives have come from team members who they felt comfortable to speak up and to share with me the ideas they had. And because of that, Skingrip and the community as a whole has benefited from it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, again, like I don't think it's too hard to be a great leader necessarily. You just got to have good people around you, and you just don't mess things up.
Don't mess things up. We all mess up in one way or another, but it's all about how you rebound from it and how you come out from it. But yeah, I mean, like I've seen again from working with you in the past 2 years, it really doesn't even feel like work because you're such a facilitator and like everything feels collaborative. So again, like on our calls, you'll come up and say, I have this idea. What are your thoughts? What do you think? What are your ideas? What do you want to see from Skingrip? And it's really like it's a positive environment to be in. And it doesn't even feel like work. It feels like fun. It feels like our way of branching out and saying, again, how can we create that change in the diabetes community? How can we start those conversations and how can we create that ripple effect? So again, for anybody listening who's wondering what that environment is like, it's just great. And I think, again, the people that we work with, like you bringing Alicia on the team and like all the people that we have kind of supporting us it's been really great to collaborate with them as well. And has done a lot of good work, I think, within the team environment.
Yeah, and if there's anyone listening that has specific skills that they think could enhance, what Skingrip's doing, feel free to reach out to me. We don't hire a ton, but whenever there is whenever there is a good fit or opportunity, we do hire out for that position, and we really do give a lot of autonomy and just kind of having a say for how we run that role or how we can make the business better.
Mm-hmm.
And like you asked, who are maybe some of my role models. No, I personally love reading books, so I mean I'm reading probably a couple books a month, not always on business, just kind of whatever strikes me as interesting at the moment. But books like How to Win Friends and Influence People and Start with Why have kind of just been my been almost like my my role models in figuring out how we can create that environment that I talked about where people can be themselves. And other than that, I don't know if you've watched Ted Lasso. Great TV show if you haven't watched it. But Ted Lasso, he's a goofy guy, but in the show, he creates an environment where his players can flourish. He's a soccer coach, and he actually has never been a soccer coach before. He's actually always coached football, and that's kind of the funny part of the story. But I just think kind of those examples of just creating an environment and then getting out of the way and just letting people be themselves is really what's led Skingrip to be what it is today.
Mm-hmm.
And I think also a part of that is, you mentioned sometimes we kind of do things that are unconventional. Like if we have an idea and if it's unconventional, we usually double down on it because, it's new, it's different. Like it's not how things have always been done. And
Mm-hmm.
so, I think of Steve Jobs as like, someone who did this really well where, he didn't think of necessarily like what do people want, but rather like what do they need that they don't even know they need. And,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we try to think in that way as well. And so, yeah, I mean, we're going to try our best. Sometimes we'll make mistakes. Sometimes we'll have ideas that are terrible, but if we never try them, we'll never know. And we're going to keep trying.
Yeah. And I think that's a human way to think about it of, no brand is perfect, no person is perfect. And that's what makes Skingrip so human, is that we're able to admit that too. So just all good things. I'm really excited because by the time this episode comes out, we'll be announcing something I think is huge. So do
Yeah.
you mind talking about that a little bit?
Yeah. This is one of our biggest announcements when it comes to giving back that we've ever made. What we call it is the Skingrip T1D scholarship. And what this is we're actually giving 20 scholarships in the amount of $1,000 each to students that are living with type 1 diabetes. So this can be high school seniors, or it can be students who are in their undergrad. And it doesn't have to, you could be at a university, you could be at a trade school, it doesn't really matter. But as long as you have type 1 diabetes, you're eligible to apply for the scholarship. So, if depending on when this, podcast launches, the deadline for the application is March 1st. So you have a few months to still apply. You can do that by going to bold.org and searching Skingrip T1D scholarship. And we'll have a link in the show notes. We'll also have links to the scholarship on our website, on our social media. So we're definitely gonna be talking about it a lot over the next few months. The application is actually really easy. Besides putting in some details about yourself, just for qualifying details. The only question you have to ask is, how do you live fearlessly with type 1 diabetes? And we're asking that everyone submit a video, a short video, less than 2 minutes, about how they live fearlessly with type 1 diabetes. And we're going to be picking 20 people to win the scholarship. So we're super excited about it, but that's not all, actually. I feel like, one of the commercials, that's not all.
Yeah.
No, the cool part is actually this. So we're working with a company called bold.org to give the scholarship to everyone. They help us qualify as well as distribute the money once the winners have been announced. And something really cool about them is they have this feature where people can contribute to the scholarship. So almost like a GoFundMe, right? So if there are, individuals with type 1 diabetes out there that, have already graduated and maybe have some extra income, they can actually contribute as much as they want to this scholarship. So, $5, $100, whatever it is. And that gets added to the pool of money being distributed to the winners. So, for example, if we're able to raise another $20,000, then that scholarship now looks like $2,000 for each of these 20 individuals. So, whether you're a student or you're an adult, a parent, we invite you to either apply or to contribute to this scholarship and help us make a big difference in 20 lives. This is just one of many things we're going to be working on over the next few years, but I think it's a great start. And as many of living with diabetes is not easy, and going to school just makes it that much harder. So we want to make sure that we're doing all we can to support these up and coming individuals in their schooling.
I'm so excited for this. Because you're right, it's a lot. I've been a college student with diabetes. It is not easy to manage. There's a lot that goes, there's just a lot that goes into it, of studying, taking care of your body in the way that diabetes demands. And then when you add on the financial component of it, going to school is expensive. accessing diabetes supplies is expensive, insulin is expensive, you don't have the right insurance. And like, this is just a huge way that Skingrip gets to make a difference in 20 lives. And maybe in the future it'll be more. And it's a way that people get to contribute in a way that's not just like they actually get to see where their money is making a difference and who it's contributing to, where like a lot of nonprofits, like you don't really get to see that direct outcome. So I think it's really unique and really special.
Yeah, that's a good thing to touch on is, I mean, there are really good charities out there that, are fairly transparent. But I know, me myself, like when I'm thinking about donating to something, I am always curious, like, where does the money actually go to? Like, if I were to give back to the university I went to, am I confident that money would go to the student that needed it the most, right? And so, yeah, with this, I mean, there's no fees. So like your donation doesn't go to the organization that's hosting the scholarship online. It doesn't go to us. It's going directly to the students. And, we're going to have some more announcements over the next few months, but, these students will definitely announce, we'll share who they are. And with anyone that contributes, we'll also, share with them, hey, this is who basically you contributed to. This is what they're going into. This is what they're doing. And, hopefully in a year from now, we can hear back from these individuals on how the scholarship helped them, and hopefully, a year from now, we can donate more than $1,000 to 20 people. Hopefully we can, be able to donate like a whole semester, and be able to pay for a whole semester for 20 individuals. I don't know. We'll see where we get. But again, that's the goal we're going for. And in order to do so, obviously you have to do good in business, but we don't want to do good in business if we're not going to do good in the community.
Right. That's so huge. And like you mentioned, I'm going to put the links in the show notes. We'll have all the links on social media, and obviously keep sharing about it and keep talking about it, because I think this is probably one of the biggest, it is the biggest thing that we've done, at least since I've been working with the team.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely the biggest.
It's awesome. Thank you so much for talking about that. Is there anything else that you want to add about Skingrip yourself? Anything?
No, I mean, if people haven't heard about Skingrip, I'd say just go to the website, try a free sample. If you hate the product, I'm not going to be offended. I know that different tapes work for different people depending on their skin type and their the environment they live in. So again, even if you don't love the product, just join us on the mission. Help us spread the mission of living fearlessly, and help. Hopefully, we can do great things, and we need everyone to play a part in that.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, thanks, Lizzie. It's always a pleasure chatting, but it's, I think it's the first time, like I said, we've ever recorded anything while we're chatting. So
yeah, no, this is awesome. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. I can't wait for this to air.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.